Welcome back to Green Bay Nation. Lily Zhao here alongside Andy Herman and Marcus Eversole. So big part of the show for you guys watching at home. If it's your first time, we decided to always do a segment where we talk about some of the best fan questions and answer those fan questions. So we put that out into the interwebs. We got a couple of these back. So you guys ready to answer some fan questions?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, let's start with number one. Doug asks, what did you think of Matt LaFleur getting the game ball? And here's the thing, though. He was the only first-time head coach, whatever, to get a win, which is pretty cool. What do you guys think of that moment?
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers said it best. It's not every day you win your first football game as a head coach. Probably a little bit of a bittersweet pill for him to swallow. You know he's the offensive guy. You've got the highest paid quarterback in football. Players like David Bakhtiari, Devontae Adams, they want to go out and put out a show against any team, regardless if it's a very tough Bears defense. So only putting up 200 yards passing and only putting up 10 points total is going to be bittersweet. But they got to win on the road against one of the toughest division opponents that they're going to face all season long. I think he'll take it overall.
I'm sure you will. And of course, Rodgers said, I have to be better, and LaFleur said, I have to be better too. So we'll see how that pans out. Well, question number two, Mark wants to know, it was a slow day on the ground for the Pack. Will that ramp up against Minnesota? We know this offense will need Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams to get going if they want to reach their full potential. I know, Marcus, you talked about the Vikings run game. How important is this Packers run game going to be?
So it's really important. I am not sure that it's going to break out in week 2. I'm not sure this is the time for them to, have that crazy statistical game. The Bears and the Vikings are about as difficult two defenses as you could possibly come out of the gates with. I think by the end of the year, the run game will be good. Aaron Jones is going to have a huge year, but he barely played in the preseason. Didn't play at all in preseason games, missed a lot of training camp, so did Jamal Williams. It'll take time. I think people always kind of look at the passing game as things that, you need reps in the preseason. Run game with the new scheme is no different. So it could be a while. I'm not sure they break out this week, but they're going to be able to run the ball this year, and they will run the ball this year.
And hopefully that's going to alleviate some of the things with Rodgers, and we'll see this offense at max capacity. Well, our final question comes from Josie, who wants to know, why did Rashad Gary, the rookie, only get 6 defensive snaps? I mean, we've seen Darnell Savage out there, but what about Gary?
I think the big thing for Gary is that, he played a good 6 defensive snaps first and foremost. He had one of the biggest pressures of the game on a pass that could have been a touchdown to Mike Davis to really tie up the game that ended up short and going off Raven Green. So the first and foremost thing is that he played well when he was in there. He is a massively talented raw piece of clay that is still putting everything together. He can win on talent right now, but he doesn't always know exactly what to be doing at all times. He's still learning. He will get a lot of snaps as time goes on and as injuries develop and they start to, manage workloads for players a little bit more, but this was a good start even in only 6 snaps.
And the other thing, too, it's a good problem to have because he's got 2 legitimate studs playing ahead of him. When Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith don't come off the field and you can't get the 12th overall pick on the field, that's kind of a good problem. I know they'll use all of them on the field at the same time at different times, but it's not like they just have guys playing ahead of Rashad Gary. They've got some studs playing ahead of Rashad Gary.
And if they play like they did against Chicago and Gary comes up and develops, it's going to be a great year. And the thing is, though, we know that Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, they're okay with him taking time to develop. It's going to take time for him to really get to that next level, and they are okay. So everyone, relax.
Relax. One other thing really quick, too. You take a look at David Bakhtiari, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. None of them were very good in their first year. It takes some time.
It sure does. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for your submissions. And if you ever want your questions answered on the show, visit our Facebook or Twitter pages at Green Bay Nation and submit yours, and you can hear them answered on the show.